Phantasialand is a park that I wanted to visit ever since I saw the first POV of Black Mamba, and in 2021 I finally did. Twice! After a total of 2 visits and 5 days at the park, I experienced almost every single ride enough times to decide which ones I like best. Please remember that this is my opinion and my ranking, and that is based on my preferences. Feel free to list your favorites in the comment section down below. And without further nonsense, let's start. This is my ranking of my top 10 favorite rides at Phantasialand. Talokan is a suspended topspin from Hus Rides and my personal number 10 at the park. This ride is something that both riders and outside viewers can enjoy. When you ride the ride, you are part of the show, and when you just watch the ride go from the outside, it's like you're watching a show. It has an amazing soundtrack and some cool effects. The ride is also pretty wild, doing multiple flips which actually got me dizzy on my second visit. This ride is only at number 10 though, because there are just so many other better rides at the park. Crazy Bats, formerly known as Temple of the Nighthawk, is a fun roller coaster. It's not the most thrilling and it's also not the best themed, but that's not too bad. Although I really wish it had a few more effects in the building during the ride, because meandering around in a pitch black building is kinda boring. However, the ride has a long duration and some pretty fun and surprising dips and turns. I really enjoyed this ride for what it is, but I also really think it's outdated and I wouldn't mind if it would get removed. I'm still glad I got to ride it though. I made a full review about this coaster that you can watch over here if you want to hear my thoughts of this ride. Rijk is a coaster that I totally forgot it existed before my first visit. On my first visit, I only rode it once to get the credit. However, on my second visit I got more rides and I really have to say it's a really fun little coaster. It has awesome theming considering it's located right next to Taron in Klugheim. This ride also has a surprisingly forceful helix for a family coaster and an okay airtime moment. The forces are not very strong, but you can definitely feel it. I really enjoyed this ride and I slightly prefer this over Crazy Bats, although this opinion changes constantly. Now, I don't like water rides, but it would have been so wrong going to Phantasialand and not riding Chiapas. During the ride I absolutely hated it because we got soaked. Afterwards, however, I thought about it again and I have to say it's the best water ride I have ridden yet. It has amazing theming as usual at Phantasialand. 3 very fun drops, 2 rather small ones, one of them going backwards and 1 huge final drop. It also has one of the funniest theming sections, which is of course the disco tunnel. I also really like the soundtrack and it's constantly playing in my head. So yeah, overall a great ride and a worthy number 7 spot. Mystery Castle is one ride that I know existed but didn't know anything about it beforehand. To say that this was a nice surprise is an understatement. This drop tower ride is amazing and I enjoyed every second of it. I knew it wasn't a usual drop tower, so when we launched up for my first ride, I was absolutely shocked. I never expected a vertical launch would feel so amazing, but here we are. The ride also has a really good drop after it held you up there for a few seconds and the airtime is amazing. A worthy number 6 spot. Winja's Fear and Force are 2 dueling Mauro spinners that interact with each other and have some nice little surprises. I already rode Spinning Racer before and I liked it, so I knew I will enjoy these 2 coasters. Now both of these are really good, but I slightly prefer Fear because of its second drop and the horseshoe turn. It also featured my preferred special track effect in the middle of the ride. It's just so much fun and a really underrated ride. While it might be on the shorter side, I still think it's worth a ride every day you are in the park, in my opinion. And while I prefer Fear, I have to say Force is also quite fun. Colorado Adventure is unironically so underrated and I couldn't believe how good this ride actually is. Now it's decent in all rows, but the back row is honestly the best. Especially if someone else sits next to you who prevents the lap bar from coming down further during the ride. I am surprised that no one else talks about this ride because it's so good. If you want to hear my full thoughts, I made yet another review about this ride that you can watch by clicking the info card up here. Black Mamba is the ride that set this park on the map for me way before Taron existed. Now that I finally rode it, I have to say it lived up to my expectations. It has phenomenal pacing, great forces and some really good inversions. The theming is also flawless and it just looks so good. The ride is perfectly incorporated into the area. This ride sadly gets overshadowed by the park's two newest coasters. I also have a full review of this ride, so once again, if you want to hear my full thoughts, click on the info card in the top right to watch this video. Taron was the main reason why people came to Phantasialand from all over the world way before Rookburgh and f.l.y opened. The hype was unreal and it was instantly regarded as one of the best coasters. And let me just say, it was justified. Although it still gets a bit overhyped and it's not as good as people said, it's still a solid ride that I really enjoy. It has outstanding theming, decent launches, some really good airtime and some really snappy transitions and an overall almost perfect layout. While Taron and Klugheim are good and combine ride experience and theming nearly perfectly, there is one coaster and area that makes everything just a bit better. And you all probably saw that coming. f.l.y is my favorite ride at Phantasialand and it's not hard to explain why. The theming, the immersiveness and the ride are just pure perfections and one of the greatest things any theme park has built in recent years. The ride overall just delivers and the theming just perfectly rounds up the entire ride. This coaster has decent launches, two great inversions, multiple awesome airtime moments and some really intense sections. The coaster itself is awesome, but when you look at everything around the ride, like the ride system, theming, pre-show, it's just an overall perfect experience. It's still my number one coaster as of riding and voicing this script, but that might change really soon if Ride to Happiness delivers. No matter if it is still or not, it's still a perfect coaster and overall the experience is just amazing, hence why it is my favorite ride at Phantasialand. I also made a full review of f.l.y and Taron, so if you want to hear my detailed thoughts about both of these rides, once again you can find these reviews in the info card on the top right. Do you agree with my ranking? What are your top 10 favorite rides at Phantasialand? Make sure to tell me your ranking down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this ranking video, make sure to leave a like, I would really appreciate it. And if you like my other content and you want to see more of it, make sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And with all that said and done, thank you all for watching. Swiss Coaster Enthusiast out.